before polls close here in Arizona. I want you to take a look at what we are watching, though, here at the county. What's happening here on that split screen, that other video that you're looking at, that's the inside of the vote count, the tabulation center. They are looking at the ballots. They are processing ballots. All of this is with the early vote. After the polls close, about an hour after polls close here in Arizona, we are anticipating to get the first results out of Arizona. That will be only the early vote, the ballots that have been processed up until Election Day. And then, as the night moves on, Aaron, those ballots that are out at the vote centers will be processed. They're counted, separated in there, and then brought over here to the tabulation center to be processed. And that information is going to start to come out as well. So it is a multi-step process. It takes time. There has to be signature verification. The ballots have to be cured here in Maricopa County. But something I want to address very quickly, because this is something that's happening right here in Arizona as we watch this clock wind down before polls close, is that there's still long lines at some of the spots that we are watching at some of these vote centers. At Mesa Community College, where we were at, and I'm going to check real quick, it's still an hour long line. If you are in line when polls close at 7 o'clock local time, Aaron, you will still be allowed to vote.
All right, which is amazing, and it is amazing that people are doing that and waiting. That is something, as you said, that everyone should be happy about, but amazing to sit there late at night, say, I'm going to sit and wait another hour or two to vote, as both campaigns hope they will. All right, Kyung, thank you very much. And let's go back to the voting desk. As these counts are coming in and people have questions about how it's happening, what's happening where, Pam, Macomb County in Michigan, what are you seeing there?
Well, Aaron, I just got off the phone with this key swing county in Michigan from the county clerk, Anthony Forlini, and he tells me he's actually hopping in his car now with a police escort to get tabulator memory sticks because they're delayed with the results coming in. Why? Well, he says it's because there were very long lines when the polls were supposed to close at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so they had to delay closing and stay open until everyone had the opportunity to cast their votes. Officials are tabulating the results right now, but those first results from Macomb were supposed to be reported around 9 p.m., just 5 minutes from now. I'm told by the clerk it's going to be later than that due to the long lines. According to the clerk, there were over 122,000 early votes cast in person there and 182,000 mail-in ballots as of yesterday. They're on track to have more than 200,000 mail-in ballots, he says. But given the high early voting turnout, he told me that the expectation there was that there would be lackluster turnout today. That is not the case in that key county. Overall in Michigan, let's look at the numbers here. The Michigan Secretary of State says more than 3.4 million voters cast their ballots early or by mail. That's nearly 47% of registered voters. And listen to this. Another 85,000 absentee ballots were returned to polling centers today. Let's go over to Milwaukee. They've had some issues over there in Milwaukee today.
Surrounded by.
I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by. The entire system is surrounded by.
Freaking idiots.
Idiots. Idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by. The entire system is surrounded by.
Freaking idiots.
Idiots. Idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Idiots. Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Idiots. Idiots. Surrounded by. I am surrounded by.
I'm often surrounded by.
The entire system is surrounded by
Freaking idiots.
idiots.
Idiots. Idiots.
Vote Kamala Harris has 45.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 275,000 plus vote lead. That's what's more than half, 52% of the estimated vote counted in Ohio. John King.
Let's look at the map, Jake, and one of the wonders as we get into the 9 o'clock hour, and this will be in the 10 o'clock hour, 11 o'clock hour, I suspect into past midnight hours, but you're beginning to see more states fill in. Most of it is very early voting, but it's still, as you just see as the polls close and we go from east to west, you now see many more states reporting votes. Let's just take a peek. We've already projected this one to be for Donald Trump. I just want to show you North Dakota. These states feel they don't get respect because they're not huge electoral battlegrounds. I like to wander through and look at the votes and just show people out here. You see South Dakota starting to fill in slowly, very early on, 1% of the vote. This is a surprise at the moment. Nebraska, the vice president so far carrying the state statewide, but we're only at 27%. And again, most of this gray you see from about here west, rural Republican farm country, where Trump tends to run it up. Just go back and give you the 2020 example of what I'm talking about. That's what tends to happen. And so we're not there yet. So when that happens, if that happens, that number will change. Again, for the vice president, what you want to do is you want to be here. I'm just showing you Douglas County. It's the big piece of Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. This is where you want to win. The blue dot, they call it. If she wins the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, I went backwards. But if she wins those three and she wins Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, she can get to 270 electoral votes. So we'll keep an eye on that as it plays out. First votes in Wisconsin, you see it's red at the moment, 796 to 479. Guess what? We have a long way to go in battleground Wisconsin. Just for context, when Joe Biden won it 4 years ago, it was 1.6 million votes. So we are in the infancy stages of counting the votes in battleground Wisconsin, and you watch as it plays out. One of the places we'll watch here, I'll just show you now, 0 votes in yet, the Green Bay area, Brown County. This is one of the key tests. Can the vice president hold on to the president's share of white working class voters? I just want to show you as we go back in 2020. Joe Biden did not win Brown County, but he got 46% of the vote. The margins within the margins sometimes make the difference in a battleground state. Wisconsin settled by 20,000 votes, right? You look at that 46% for Joe Biden, and then you move back in time, and you see 42% for Hillary Clinton. That makes the difference. She lost the state, he won the state. So one of the things we will watch as the 2024 results come in is not just can she turn out the African-American vote in Milwaukee, not just can she compete in the suburbs, Waukesha, just to the west of Milwaukee, but can she hold her own? Just be as competitive as Biden was in some of these blue-collar counties. Long way to go there. Let's pop over to Michigan. As Jake just told you, we're only at 10% there, so not a lot to look at. Just move it up so you can see it a little bit better at home. The vice president has pulled ahead in Kent County. That's Grand Rapids, but it's early. And again, you're looking down here. I told you earlier, one of the warning signs was Washington.
On the Equinox
where the University of
account.
Michigan is, Ann Arbor. If you move east here, Dearborn is over here
one
near
I'm
Detroit.
rolling with.
Her question marks in Michigan are young voters.
And the one I'm rolling with is the primary card number.
And again, you say, wow, that's a 30-point lead. What are we worried about that for? She has some to say. But you don't want to lose a lot. And I was at the Michigan campus just last week, and they have a very aggressive young voter turnout operation there. We'll see later in the night if those numbers change at all. That's Michigan. Let's come back out and come over to the home state of Mr. Tapper, still at 20%. It's bumped up just a little bit there. So what are we looking at? Let's move it up just a little bit. We have some votes. Erie County, as I told you earlier, 25%.
And then in the face now, just smear it.
Then to Donald Trump, and then flip back to Joe Biden.
What's that over there? Don't get near it.
Erie County is going to win the Commonwealth and win the presidency, but that's what's happened in the last several presidential elections. So you look, we're just starting, just getting started in Erie County. 512 votes, just for context. It's going to take close to 70,000 votes to win that county. So we're just starting. That's one of them. Let's come back to 2024 and move over here to Northampton County, again, right along the New Jersey border, not terribly far from Allentown. The vice president ahead there at only 22% of the vote in. So that was, again, look how close it was. Joe Biden just barely carried it. Donald Trump just barely carried it 4 years before that. That's the way it tends to end up. So we'll watch as that plays out. Here's something we do want to look at, is Lehigh County. Only 20% of the vote in here. If there is an impact from the Donald Trump Madison Square Garden event, where so many insults were made about Puerto Ricans and about Mexicans and about Latino and Hispanic Americans, if you're going to see an impact, this is one of the places you might see it, right here. And that's why both Trump and Harris went to Allentown in the final days of the campaign to try to take advantage of it. We're only at 20% right there, but again, you're doing this for context. 62% for the vice president. You go back in time to Lehigh County 2020, 53%. If the vice president can overperform Joe Biden in Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, she's in good shape. So we watch that as it plays out. We're only at 20% of the vote right now. If we come down to it, that's only 20. It's only 20%. So then you come out more. Where else are you looking in Pennsylvania? Let's bring this up. You also had the vice president door knocking in Berks County. Berks County at the moment is blue. If Berks County ends the night blue, my bet would be on Vice President Harris winning Pennsylvania. Why? Let's look at it. Let's show you where it is. Here's Philadelphia. Here's the close-in suburbs around it. And then as you drive out, what used to be farm country, now you see the homes lined up. Right? People moving further out because that's the only place they can afford a home. That's places like Berks County, Pennsylvania. Half the vote counted, a little bit shy of that right now, 51 to 48. Right? Let's go back in time. That was a 53% county for Donald Trump in 2020 when he lost Pennsylvania, and it was a 53% county in 2016 when he won Pennsylvania. So if you're the vice president of the United States, you're keeping an eye on this one. If you can keep this blue, your chances to win the Commonwealth or improved dramatically so. Spent a lot of time there over the last year. It is interesting. You found a lot of Nikki Haley voters there, a lot of Reagan Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, who were kind of tormented about voting for Trump or voting for Harris. So we'll keep an eye on that one there. Then you move out here. This is the number 2 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Allegheny County is Pittsburgh and the suburbs around it, the labor vote, the blue-collar vote. A smaller African-American population, but the urban vote Democrats need. So she's at 68% when you look at that there. You come back in time. He was at 59%. So again, we're early. We're early. Let me come back to 2024 and come out. It's 40%. So it's early. These tend to be early votes, which tend to favor Democrats more. So we want to wait and get more to see if that's contextual. At the moment, she's outpacing the President of the United States in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in some key places. We will see if that holds up. The flip side, pick one. Tioga County, along the border, northern border of Pennsylvania. Donald Trump getting 71% of there. Half the vote is in. Again, this is Donald Trump's secret, just runs it up in small rural counties across America, 75%. So keep an eye on that. It's early. We're still counting votes right there. But is the Trump base turning out in the same math numbers in a place like Pennsylvania? He needs to run it up in places like this. There's Bradford. Again, it's only 5% reporting, 75%, 71%. Again, even in these small rural counties, the early vote, there's not a lot of Democratic votes there, but a lot of it comes out in the early votes if you're following along when they count it. So let's be careful to not make any projections, any tough, lasting cement analysis, I guess I'll call it, but we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Virginia, every time I come out, I wait to see if Virginia's going to flip. Yeah, the outstanding votes are still largely in Democratic. There's some Republican votes out there. You see the red dots, but the big circles are in Democratic areas. So the math is there for the vice president to recover. But even a close race in Virginia might tell you that it's a more competitive environment for Donald Trump, especially, Jake, as we've talked before. Can he do well in the suburbs? And then you see, we're looking at Virginia as kind of it's interesting. What lessons can we learn there? Well, again, they're not exactly the same, but they're similar. You come down to North Carolina, we're above 50% now. It's close. This is welcome to North Carolina. This is what it's going to be. And so you just take a look and you say, what's missing, right? Where are they still counting votes? Again, Mecklenburg County, Charlotte and the suburbs around it, African-American voters, upscale suburbs around it, key to the Democratic coalition. A lot of votes there. A lot of votes in Raleigh-Durham, the Research Triangle, again. And so you see that happening right there. And let's see, we go back here and come back up to Virginia, and we see 49.4. 48% there. Again, pretty remarkable. 17,000 votes. Again, we got a long way to go. 45% of the votes still to be counted. But Joe Biden won it by 10 points. So if you're in the vice president's camp, you're a little nervous about that.
Let's bring in David Chalian to get some insights now on the outstanding vote in Virginia, which is, as of now, a little tighter than I think the Harris campaign would like.
Yeah, Jake, we're trying to determine how much of this vote we're looking at now is pre-election vote. Our estimate right now is that we are looking at in Virginia, 39% of the vote that's in is pre-election vote. That, we think, at the end of the day, is going to go up to 52%. So there's still quite a bit of pre-election vote to come in here. And Kamala Harris is winning the pre-election vote by about 17 points. So as more of that early vote gets funneled into the count in Virginia, you can imagine there's real room here for Harris to grow, Jake.
All right, David, and we have some projections right now for you at home. CNN can project that Illinois will go to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, as expected, will win Illinois in its 19 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Rhode Island will go to Kamala Harris, as expected. Kamala Harris will get the 4 electoral votes from Rhode Island. So where are we on the electoral map as of right now? Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 53 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Neither of them is within spitting distance of that. Let's take a look at the actual votes coming in from the battlegrounds that we have not projected. In battleground Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead, 57.5% of the vote. Donald Trump, 41.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 258,000 plus vote lead. That's with about a quarter, 23% of the estimated vote in Pennsylvania counted as of now. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris with 53.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 44.3% of the vote. Harris with a 64,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 12% of the vote counted in Michigan. Still very early in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead. 50.7% of the vote. Harris with 48.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 75,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half, 51% of the estimated vote counted in battleground North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump still holding on to his lead, 52.9% of the vote. Harris has 46.4% of the vote. Donald Trump right now with a 249,000 plus vote lead. Now it's a 255,000 vote lead. That's with an estimated 71% of the vote counted in battleground Georgia. In Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead as of now, 49.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead by more than 15,000 votes. That's with more than half, 56% of the estimated vote, but still a lot of vote to come in the Commonwealth of Virginia. In New Hampshire, Harris with 53.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.9% of the vote. Harris with an 30% of the estimated vote counted in New Hampshire. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 54.3% of the vote. Harris with 44.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 332,000 plus vote lead. That's with almost 60%, 58% of the estimated vote counted in the Buckeye state. Now let's go to John King at the Magic Wall. John.
And so, Jake, you lay out the results, and there are some surprises there, right? At least where we are right now. So we just want to go back and follow up where we were. David Chalian was talking about some of the going to jump, and we know that the vice president is doing quite well in that vote. So I just want to show you what he means by how this can change. Again, Donald Trump's lead has been shrinking. It was 16,000 not that long ago. It's 12,395 now. Look at the Northern Virginia suburbs here. I just want to show you these circles help us understand where are there live outstanding votes, meaning votes that we know are out there that have not been counted yet. Right? You see the big circles, the biggest circles around the Northern Virginia suburbs, also Richmond and the suburbs around that, and some big Republican circles down here, Virginia Beach area, and some here in the suburbs more to the south, the exurbs south of Richmond. But I want to focus up here, and just to show you why you can say early on, you say, whoa, what's happening here? But then things can change pretty quickly. Centers report their votes. So let's take Fairfax County. It's the largest of the suburban counties. It's the #1 county population in Virginia. The vice president's getting 66. At one county, there's a lot of votes still out, and she's winning disproportionately in the math right now. That can change, but it generally tracks when you get above 60% of the vote. And so just in that one county right there, the math, when those votes come in, the math can change. So Doesn't mean it will, but there's more than enough Democratic votes still outstanding, or votes outstanding in Democratic areas is the better way to put it, for that to happen. So let's check in on the other battleground. In North Carolina. But then you come here, it's the largest Democratic area, only 10% of the vote. And again, look where we are, 36,000 votes for the vice president right now. You go back 4 years, 378,000 votes. So we just need to slow